We're getting in some breaking news that Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi has also praised the Prime Minister. He has praised the Prime Minister for the recent surgical strikes across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. What Rahul Gandhi has said, and I quote, first achievement of the Prime Minister in 2.5 years. He says for the first time the government has done something great. So the Congress Vice President congratulating the Prime Minister. Let's listen in.
धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने 2.5 साल में पहला एक्शन लिया है जो प्रधानमंत्री के लायक एक्शन, और मेरा उनको पूरा समर्थन है और पूरा हिंदुस्तान, कांग्रेस पार्टी, पूरा हिंदुस्तान उनके साथ इस बात में खड़ा हुआ है.
All right, let's get in a quick word from India Today's executive editor, Javed Ansari. Javed, good afternoon. Some words of praise coming in from the Congress Vice President, Rahul Gandhi, finally, congratulating the Prime Minister and the government for the recent attack on Pakistan.
Yes, Avantika, and this is in line with the sentiments echoed by the rest of the political class. This is a challenge to the country, and India's political class has put its best foot forward. Yesterday, the Congress President put out a statement. Yesterday, leaders from the RJD, the left, the NTP, everybody, including the Congress, supported the government. And today, Rahul Gandhi has echoed the same, has said something similar, saying that for the first time he's done something good and we support him. Adversity sometimes brings out the best in our politicians.
Oh, yes.
And they've used this to put their best foot forward.
Absolutely. And it's important, Javed, that this time of the hour, that all political parties put their differences aside. They rally around the government to underline the country's resolve.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a challenge to the country, and this calls for unity. The country, the people are speaking in one voice, and India's politicians have also put the country first and their political interests second. And this can only be a good augury.
Absolutely. Javed Ansari there. Thank you so much for joining us. And those are the words of praise and appreciation coming in from the Congress Vice President, Rahul Gandhi, congratulating the Modi government for the recent surgical strikes across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Rahul Gandhi there praising the Prime Minister for this incident. After the United States, the breaking news that we have just received right now is that the Afghanistan ambassador, Shaida Abdali, has backed India's surgical strike, says if terror groups continue without action, then self-defense in this form will continue. In fact, he's also said, and I'm quoting him here, we hope no one will allow safe havens for terrorists to be used against neighbors. So that's the news coming in from Afghanistan, also extending their support after the United States to India. The envoy of Afghanistan backing India. In fact, just to quote the ambassador once again, he said that we hope no one will allow safe havens for terrorists to be used against neighbors. And this is coming at a time when Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan had all together boycotted the SAARC meeting in Islamabad, backing India, and with Nepal also asking for the venue of the SAARC meet to be shifted out from Islamabad. But at the same time, security has also been heightened at the Indian embassy in Afghanistan. That's because the day after the Indian forces wiped out 7 terror launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, India has received intelligence that its interests in Afghanistan could be under threat from terrorist elements. India, along with foreign intelligence agencies, has been monitoring conversations between terrorist cells in Afghanistan and their handlers in Pakistan. And therefore, according to intercepts, they have indicated the very high possibility of a retaliatory strike and that Indian missions in Jalalabad and Herat could be targeted. Meanwhile, Afghanistan has already supported India's action against terrorist camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, saying such acts of self-defense are justified if terror groups are functioning with such impunity. Maha Siddiqui joins us for the very latest on this. Maha, after the United States, Afghanistan once again coming out and backing India in this time of the hour. But can you just tell us a little bit more about, the security threat that most of the embassies and most of the important, institutions have as the news of a possible retaliatory strike is coming in?
Avantika, security has already been beefed up across the country and in the areas which are vulnerable, and that has also already been conveyed by the Home Ministry to all the agencies. We have seen immediate action on border states like Punjab, Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir, which have been told to evacuate areas close to the border. We have seen that the government has allayed the fears of the embassies. Yesterday, the Foreign Secretary himself held a meeting with envoys of many countries in which he in fact briefed them about the surgical strikes and also allayed whatever concerns they had about the stability in the region. Now, talking about Afghanistan backing India, these are the boldest words, that we've heard, very categoric, without mincing any words. The Afghan ambassador saying that acts of self-defense are necessary against terrorism.
All right, Maha, thank you so much. We're just getting in some breaking news at this hour. That the Supreme Court has set aside the Patna High Court decision on gangster, the criminal turned politician Shahabuddin's bail. The Supreme Court sets aside the Patna's High Court decision. In fact, it will not be hearing the matter at least for today. And what we are hearing that his bail has been cancelled for now. Let's just go straight to India Today's Anusha Soni to get more details. Anusha, just give us the very latest update.
Avantika, as you broke the news, the bail granted to Mohammad Shahabuddin, RJD leader, and a person who has been convicted for life imprisonment in about 2 murder cases, has been cancelled by the Supreme Court today. In an order which was just passed a few minutes ago, the Supreme Court has said that the state of Bihar shall take all the steps which are necessary to take him back into custody. Earlier, remember, Chandrakeshwar Prasad, the father who lost 3 sons, had moved to the Supreme Court seeking the cancellation of bail. At the same time, the state of Bihar had also moved to the Supreme Court. The argument concluded yesterday, the order was due today, and this big move coming from the apex court, the bail has been cancelled, which was granted by the Patna High Court to Mohammad Shahabuddin.
Absolutely. And the Supreme Court, in fact, had some very sharp observations for the Bihar government. Anusha, I'll come back to you to talk about that. But let me just get in a quick word from India Today's Rohith for more on this. Rohith, a huge setback for Shahabuddin. He has to walk back to jail when he was just recently released from it.
Well, absolutely. It's a huge setback for RJD leader and Dawn-turned politician Mohammad Shahabuddin, because remember, 10th of September was when he was released from Bhagalpur jail, and 20 days later, today, 30th of September, the Supreme Court has now said that his bail will be cancelled and he has to go back to jail. And we have Chanda Babu himself, Chandrakeshwar Prasad. His 3 sons were allegedly killed by Shahabuddin, and we'll get the first reactions from him. Chanda Babu, आपके 3 बेटों को शाहबुद्दीन जो बताया जाता आरोप आपका है कि उनको मारा गया था, अब उनकी बेल को कैंसिल करने के लिए जो आपने सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए थे, बेल कैंसिल हो गया है
जी। तो हमको जो है देखिए बेल कैंसिल हुआ है, हमको तो प्रसन्नता हुई है, हमारे 3 बच्चों के आत्मा को भी इससे शांति तो जरूर मिलेगी, और यहाँ के डरे हुए लोगों को जो है कुछ यही होगा। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी चीज है कि इस बेल को कैंसिल कराने में हम कहेंगे कि सब आप लोगों का सहयोग है और एहसान है यहाँ के सारे लोगों को, जिन्होंने ये जो है बेल कैंसिल कराने में अपनी जो है मदद लगाई, और ये एहसान का बदला हम तो साथ चुका नहीं पाएंगे। हम इतना कहेंगे कि हम आपको अपने तरफ से सबको धन्यवाद देंगे। और
चंदा, वो आप तो यहाँ रहते ही हैं, क्या आपको लग रहा था पिछले 20 दिनों से जब से शाहबुद्दीन छूटे थे जेल से, क्या सिवान में दहशत का माहौल था, डर का माहौल था, और क्या बिहार सरकार ने इस पूरे उनको बेल को अपोज करने के लिए देरी की थी?
जी, यहाँ तो माहौल जो है बहुत इस हुआ था। अब जो है जितने भी यहाँ के
Okay, Rohith, just stay with me. Rohith, if I may just interrupt and excuse me for doing the same. We'll just have to go and take a quick reaction from Prashant Bhushan, who's just speaking outside the court.
आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दोनों अपीलें, जो एक चंदा बाबू, जो राजीव रोशन और जो उनके 3 बेटे जिनको मारा गया था, उनके पिताजी की तरफ से जो अपील फाइल करी गई थी और जो बिहार की तरफ से अपील फाइल करी गई थी शाहबुद्दीन के बेल के खिलाफ, उन दोनों अपीलों को अलाउ कर दिया है और बिहार सरकार को आदेश दिया है कि तुरंत उसको वापस जेल में भेजा जाए और जल्दी से जल्दी ये जो ट्रायल है राजीव रोशन वाले केस की, उस ट्रायल को जल्दी से जल्दी खत्म किया जाए।
सर ये भी सवाल तमाम उठ रहे थे कि कटघरे में एक तरह से बिहार सरकार को और प्रशासन को खासतौर से पुलिस को लगातार लगाई है कि किस तरह से जो ट्रायल केसेस थे वो अभी तक पेंडिंग क्यों पड़े हुए हैं।
अब उसके बारे में कोर्ट ने कुछ बोला है कि नहीं बोला, क्या बोला है ये अभी नहीं पता, क्योंकि कोर्ट ने सिर्फ इतना अपना ऑपरेटिव आदेश पढ़कर सुनाया था कि उसकी बेल का जो ऑर्डर है उसको रद्द किया जाता है। बिहार सरकार को आदेश दिया जाता है कि तुरंत उसको वापस जेल में भेजा जाए और उसका ट्रायल जल्दी से जल्दी कंक्लूड किया जाए।
सर बचाव पक्ष ने कोई दलील रखी है इस सामने?
नहीं, अब क्या बचाव पक्ष दलील रखेगा। अब तो ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आदेश है कि उसकी बेल जो है खारिज हो गई है और उसको वापस जेल में जाने का आदेश हुआ।
बड़ी चीज ये थी कि लगातार सुनवाई के दौरान सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी बिहार सरकार पर
So the criminal turned politician has now been sent back to jail. We are talking about Shahabuddin, the Supreme Court setting aside the Patna High Court decision. Joining us is also Rohith. Rohith, there was also a plea made by the government asking the court not to unleash the terror of the dreaded criminal on the people of Bihar. But there is also an accusation against the government, against the state, that it has been delaying the trial of Shahabuddin.
Well, absolutely. That's the basic observation that has been made by the Supreme Court, because there have been several cases in the last 3 years where Shahabuddin has been granted bail. But in all those cases, the Bihar government has never approached the Supreme Court for cancellation of this bail. And even in this case, the killing of eyewitness Rajiv Roshan, he was in this case also the bail was granted to him because there was a delay in starting the trial. Because remember, in February this year, the High Court had said that begin trial in this entire case in 6 months and complete it. But it's been more than 6 months and the trial did not begin, and that is why Shahabuddin applied for bail and he very easily got a bail. So obviously Bihar government was facing severe flags, and it was only Chanda Babu and Prashant Bhushan, when they approached the Supreme Court for cancellation of Shahabuddin bail, then it was the Bihar government that followed the footstep, and it was basically second in line to challenge Shahabuddin's bail. So this was the major issue, because of which the Bihar government was being cornered by the opposition, that it did not take the bail that was granted to Shahabuddin very seriously. And now that Shahabuddin is back in Siwan, there is an atmosphere of fear in Siwan. Several people have left this city and many are living under constant fear, as Chanda Babu was also pointing out. And remember, when Shahabuddin was released on 10th of September, 3 days later, there was a very secret report also by the administration that was submitted to the Bihar government. And in that report, the DM and SP of Siwan had claimed that after Shahabuddin had returned to Siwan, there was an atmosphere of fear and people were living under constant fear, and the district administration had recommended to the state government that he should be sent back to jail. And it was then that the state government also challenged his bail, and now that his bail has been cancelled, obviously he has to go back to jail. But let me tell you one thing from here on. As I speak, at this point of time, Shahabuddin is in his village Pratappur, and now will he surrender? Will the police go and arrest him? That is going to be a Herculean task for the police.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But they will have to abide by the court's orders. In fact, I'll just come to you. Rohith, stay with me. We'll just go back and listen into what Prashant Bhushan had to say after that decision was made by the High Court, by the Supreme Court.
And for allowing, or rather not doing anything about the stay of trial of about 45 cases of Shahabuddin. So I hope that the Bihar government will take note of the observations of the Supreme Court and will now act to ensure that this kind of thing does not happen in future, that the stay of trials of his case is lifted, and of course we will be filing a fresh petition seeking his transfer outside Bihar, because in Bihar, as the record shows, in Bihar, Shahabuddin, even from inside the jail, runs his own empire, and it seems that the authorities of Bihar prisons are helpless against the power and the might of Shahabuddin, or are complicit with it.
So he goes to Siwan or Bhagalpur?
No, he will go to Bhagalpur.
Rohith, these are very important questions that the Bihar government will also have to answer. In fact, they were subject to these tough questioning in the Supreme Court as well. Why did they not oppose to Shahabuddin's bail in the first place? In fact, there is also an allegation that the Bihar government is a little too soft towards Shahabuddin. So these are some of the questions that even the state government needs to answer.
Well, obviously, as I told you, these are the very basic questions on which the Supreme Court was also mulling, and they said that why did the Bihar government go slow in all the cases where Shahabuddin has been granted bail? Because as I told you earlier also, there were several cases in which he was granted bail in the last 3 years, but in none of the cases did the Bihar government approach the Supreme Court for cancellation of this bail. And when suddenly Chandal Babu's son, the eyewitness son, Rajiv Roshan's, in this case, he got bail, the Bihar government approached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court asked the Bihar government, why was this urgency in this particular case only? You are coming to me for cancellation of Shahabuddin's bail. Why? What about the rest of the cases? So these are the basic observations because of which the Bihar government was on the back foot.
But has the state government accepted that there were shortfalls from their own side? And, you know, did they have any answers to those questions as to why was there no trial for more than a year on the various cases that Shahabuddin faces? And also, what do you expect to happen next now, Rohith? In your experience, will Shahabuddin surrender? Will the police go and arrest him?
Well, as far as the second question is concerned, will Shahabuddin surrender or will the police arrest him? Because that's the basic question at this point of time. Because remember, he is a dawn-turned politician, and at this point of time, he is in his den, which is Pratappur village. And will the police succeed in taking him out from Pratappur village and taking him to Siwan jail initially, or will Shahabuddin surrender because he has a lot of supporters in that village, in this entire area? So will these supporters allow police to arrest him or even allow him to surrender before the police? This is a basic question, and this is why there is also massive police deployment that has been put in place in Siwan to avoid any kind of tension, because the police and the administration is anticipating that if Shahabuddin's bail is cancelled, there is going to be trouble, there is going to be some sort of a violence also that can be seen in Siwan. So it remains to be seen in the next couple of hours how things play out from here. But one thing is clear, after the Supreme Court's
Rohith, we're getting a reaction from the JDU. Envoy is speaking right now. Let's just listen into what he has to say.
कैंसिल हुआ, बीजेपी खामखा जो बदनाम करने की कोशिश कर रही थी, वो जनता के सामने बात आ गई।
कहा जा रहा है कि बिहार सरकार दबाव में आके तब सुप्रीम कोर्ट आई थी।
नहीं, दबाव की कोई बात नहीं है। जब मांग हुई, जिस समय पत्रकार की हत्या हुई, उसके फौरन बाद सीबीआई को भी भेजा गया, लेकिन वो मामला तो केंद्र में पेंडिंग था। उसी तरह से फिर जब उसका समय आया कोर्ट में जाने का, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाने, तो बिहार सरकार गई मजबूती से।
Okay, and let's go back to Rohith. He has been updating us with the very latest Supreme Court, setting aside the Patna High Court decision, and that has been decided that Shahabuddin, in fact, will go back to jail. His bail has been cancelled. Rohith, the Nitish Kumar government has been under a lot of pressure to send Shahabuddin back to jail under the Crime Control Act. In fact, he also quoted a lot of controversy as soon as he was released, calling Nitish Kumar a chief minister of circumstances. So what can we expect to happen in the next few hours now?
Well, remember on 10th of September, 7 o'clock in the morning, I was there at the Bhagalpur jail, and when the moment he was released from bail, he came out from the Bhagalpur jail and he made those scathing comments about the Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. He said that he was the Chief Minister because of circumstances, and following that he did not stop there. For the next couple to 2 to 3 days, he continued with his tirade against the Bihar Chief Minister, and he refused to accept Nitish Kumar as his leader of the Mahagathbandhan government, and he said that only Lalu Prasad was his leader, and he also said that Nitish can never be his leader, and he had never shared a cordial relation with Nitish Kumar. So his intention was very much clear from the first day. But obviously now that his bail has been cancelled by the Supreme Court, now remains to be seen, as I told you, in the next 2 to 3 hours, what will be the next step that the police is going to take, or whether Shahabuddin himself will come out from Pratappur village and surrender before the police.
Absolutely, that remains to be seen. For now, Rohith, thank you so much for joining us. We, of course, will keep coming back to you, but